What's going on, everybody? It is Danny Paul McQuillan, and welcome to another Yogi Misfit Sessions summer series. So I'm hoping everyone had a good 4th of July, if you're even in the United States and celebrate 4th of July, and or even if you celebrate the 4th of July, period. But yeah, hope everyone had a really good 4th of July weekend. I know I did. I was able to have some downtime, which is pretty random and really rare for me, but I got to hang out and chill out by the beach. And although it was a really cold beach because San Francisco. But yeah, it was nice to have some downtime, hang out with some friends, and chill out for a bit. So this week we're coming at you with, again, our Shut Up and Yoga and the Yogi Misfit Sessions Summer Series collaboration. It has been such a great time to record these episodes. The writers over at Shut Up and Yoga are just extremely brilliant. They're super smart. And if you didn't hear it in the last episode, like the whole platform is really awesome because they don't have just these random like top 10 tips for yogis or any of that. They really have conversations that I think we all want to have, or at least we're all thinking about. So like just really big kudos and shout out to them for really, not even saying pushing the envelope, I would say, but having the real conversations that we all want to have. The Shut Up and Yoga team has been really awesome and super just like all about everything that we're doing over here at the Yogi Misfit Session. So it's been really, really, really fun to collab and play with them this summer. If you happen to be in San Francisco this coming weekend, July 12th through the 14th, I've got a 3-day asana tune-up immersion. So it's called Nerd Alert, and we're going into asana anatomy and alignment. What we're doing is we're breaking down some of your favorite poses and what I like to call the gateway poses to all the other poses in yoga. And we start to understand how the anatomy works and why it works so that it fits in your body and not just these generalized cues that teachers throw out and blah, 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 the stuff that you just kind of hear over and over again. So we're going to nerd out for 3 days. It's going to be hosted at Yoga Tree. You can come and hang out. You can sign up beforehand. There's still a few spots left, so you can always show up as well. You can find that information in the show notes below. There's a link. You can click on it. And the other thing that I want to remind y'all is the email is about to drop for flight school. So if you haven't heard me talk about this yet, I'm doing a 5-week video course of arm balances. I've got crow pose, I've got side crow, I got Ekapada Kunyasana 1 and 2. And then there's a bonus 10-minute video for warm-up and a bonus 10-minute video for cool-down as well. And it's just something I put together as a little gift for you yogis out there. I do one of these maybe like once a year-ish, at least I try to. And this one I'm super, super proud of. I'm really happy to be getting it out there. So if you would like to get that drop when it happens in just about a week or so, you can put your email down at www.dannypaulmcquillan.com/email. Again, that's www.dannypaulmcquillan.com/email. And you will get the video series. It's getting ready to come out. It's really, really, really super awesome and fun. And yeah, I can't wait to share it with you. And you also get some updates on the podcast as well. You'll get to know when people are coming on the show. And yeah, any fun stuff that we just have happening at the Yogi Misfit Sessions. I think that's all the reminders and recaps for you guys. I can't believe we are officially in the middle of, by the time you listen to this, it's going to be the middle of almost July. Kind of, sort of, or pretty close to anyway. We're like halfway through, our summer series sessions officially as of this episode drop. Anyway, hope you guys are enjoying your summer. Hope you are having a kick-ass week. And without further ado, here comes the Yogi Misfit Sessions, Session 2 with Paul McQuillan. And we talk about false gurus in yoga. One more time, big shout out to Shut Up and Yoga. Enjoy the show. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Great to be here, Danny.
I'm so excited to everyone that I've talked to from Shut Up and Yoga for this summer series has been really, really, really interesting to, you guys get to share your writings all the time. And so it's nice to hear your guys' voice behind the writing as well.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have that platform for sure, and it has an edgy aspect to it. Shut up and yoga. That's what's wonderful about it. It's not just a yoga love-in. We hit the dark side, and that keeps it interesting.
Yeah, I'm starting to pick up on that.
Yeah, and I think it's important because we can wax poetic about a topic like yoga until we're blue in the face. But I mean, we're human beings, and we all have those. We have so many different colors, and some of those colors are, well, they're dark and unsavory, and so I think it's important to delve into that and to be brave about it. Like I always say, it makes us vulnerable, and staying vulnerable is actually ironic, very courageous. So if you can lead with vulnerability, it's like you're being courageous. And I think that Anastasia, who runs Shut Up and Yoga, has set that template nicely for people to be free to speak their minds and explore difficult subjects.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only super smart, but it's also like it's much needed. It needs to happen. A lot of the conversations that something Sarah and I were talking about, who I had on the show, or she was on the first episode, but it's a lot of the stuff that we see in publications is like 5 tips to your hips, just random things that people want to have these other conversations in yoga. They really do.
Absolutely.
And they're just not doing it because there's no space for it to happen. And so I think that Shut Up and Yoga is doing a really good job at presenting that.
I think it's kind of like being in a doctor's office, and as you know, the doctor just prescribes you a medication as opposed to sitting you down and saying, "Hey, what's going on? How's your family? How's your relationships? What's right. really going on here?" And getting to the root of the problem and working with that as opposed to just taking care of symptoms. So I think with yoga, because it's such well, again, because it has such a broad scope and so many aspects, so many facets to it, I think it's important to delve deep and explore all of those as opposed to just skimming the surface, which can be pretty boring after a little while, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, no kidding. It's, I mean, the whole yoga world in itself is a trip.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I own a yoga studio in downtown.
The fact that I get to tell people I'm a yoga teacher.
Yeah. But what's funny about that is sometimes when you put forth that label of being a yoga teacher, automatically people attach that to being a medical doctor. They attach it to you being, I'd say a vegan. I don't know if you eat meat. I do, but I mean,
same.
Yeah, and they attach it to so many to Buddhist principles, maybe even to religion, which is dangerous. And suddenly you're put on this pedestal, and you might not be an expert in any of those fields. And often we're not. Most yoga teachers aren't doctors. We might not even be. It's great if we delve into anatomy and know as much about it as we can as yoga teachers, but sometimes we don't have the kind of depth of knowledge that a doctor or a chiropractor. We haven't had that kind of schooling. We've just gone through a program to teach yoga, and we're taking care of a collective energy and bodies in a room, and that's what we do. But people are asking you questions afterwards, and I just like to embrace the 3 words "I don't know." Because if I'm blurry or on it at all, I say I don't know, but I can find out because I have a network of people around me that know these things.
Yeah, we're also like not only just yoga teacher, but sometimes we're and doctor, but then you're like therapist, and then people expect you to be all these other things that we're just not. What we're trained for is to, like, in the asana class. That is what we're there to do, is teach an asana based class. Absolutely,
and our values might be different than almost every other person in the room, and that's not to say that our values are loftier or better. They might be different. And so it gets dangerous if we start preaching in a linear fashion as we're teaching a yoga class, or we're talking to somebody after a yoga class, because everybody has different values. And I mean, I live in Toronto, and Toronto is the most multicultural city in the world. It has, in terms of all the different cultures that are represented in Toronto, you just have to look in a yoga class to see how diverse it is. And I really embrace that. I think it's a beautiful thing. But with that diversity, of course, comes a lot of different values, a lot of different opinions. And I think that needs to be embraced too. And so if we start getting, we start getting too pitchy with regards to what our values are or what our beliefs are, if we have those, then it gets a little bit dangerous. And so we want to stay open to everything. I mean, that's synonymous with yoga itself, right? Opening everything up. And so, I mean, that's what I like to do. So I'm completely fine with the I don't know principle. And because I don't want people to put me on a pedestal. That's a lot of pressure. We don't like that pressure, do we?
No. And also, if you put yourself up on a pedestal and you fall down, you take everyone else that's underneath you, like with you. You end up taking everybody down.
So true. And I think that leading with, like I said, vulnerability and humility is a very important aspect of, because we do have to lead. Let's not be elusive with regards to that. As a yoga teacher, you are a leader, and people are looking up to you and looking to you. But you can lead with in a peer-based sense, where we're all equals in that room. But somebody has to lead. But it doesn't need to be self-righteous, and it doesn't need to be sanctimonious. And I think that's really important. And then ironically, you become a better leader, a better yoga teacher, because everybody can meet you in a more common place.
Totally. Absolutely. 100%. Do you feel like people start to glorify yoga teachers and turn them into these gurus?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Or the yoga teacher turns themselves into one, like both, and it doesn't serve anyone. But I've been in situations like that, of course, because I went through the Bikram yoga training. So, that was, I guess we could call him the host of something like that, Bikram Chowdhury, right? All the things that have gone down with that man. But he definitely put himself in that position of self-righteous guru, and almost in a dictator kind of fashion, very militant. And it was interesting to be a part of and watch, but not be influenced or be so impressionable as to become a part of that cult aspect, because I was there to learn the yoga, and I didn't want to endorse any kind of tribal energy aspect. But in retrospect, I look back and I'm like, I drank the Kool-Aid a little bit for sure. I absolutely did. But the more I look back on that, the more I look back on that, Danny, the more I resent it. Right, the more remorse I have, because and maybe shame.
Sure.
Just because it made me, it stripped me of my agency, and in that time period. And now I know what I've built up and what values I have now, and that I don't know things, and that there isn't just one way, there's many ways, and all these things that I've learned. And I look back and I'm like, wow, but I was very influenced. I was very impressionable. And I'm sorry about that. Like I am, because when I came back, I realized that I was teaching with that impression, with that energy. And I didn't really find my teaching style or in a healthy respect for a couple of years. I was doing what he did. Sure. I was doing this militant kind of style of teaching, and being very forthright and difficult with people, and pushing them in ways that they should not be pushed. And so it's hard not to attach that to some shame and resentment. And then of course I evolved, and I'm happy that I'm out of that place. And then now I can be in a room, and I can see people a different way, and actually help them, which of course is the objective from the very beginning. Right.
Right. Totally. Yeah. What do you think happens to these teachers where they start to glorify themselves? Like, why do you think this happens?
I think it starts in childhood. I think, like everything does, right? There's a certain amount of there's a desire and a neediness there that has to be fulfilled, and they find a platform for it. And unfortunately, it's at the expense of hundreds of people, of their students, or people who perhaps come across as even having less agency than the teacher themselves. And so they're impressionable, and then it starts a vicious cycle. Yeah. So I think it's egoic, right? Like it's one of those things because you get a lot of, you get a lot of credit, a lot of room to move as a yoga teacher. People do look up to you. They also see you as being open, feeling wise, and so they jump on. Maybe there's a gap, something missing in their life, and then they come to yoga and they start to feel these different things, and then they share, and then they just want to listen to this one person. And again, it takes them on a linear path that isn't necessarily healthy.
But why do people just let it keep going and going and going?
I don't know. That's a good question because, but I do think that there's more of a collective consciousness and a change that's coming about. And I see people taking the wheel themselves more and more. But what I actually have seen evolve over the years is people are asking more questions. And I think that's really important because, I mean, when we were in training, we weren't really allowed to ask questions. We were just talked at, not to or with. And that just made us disappear. Like, I don't know about you, like when I was an actor for 30 years. And whenever I came across a director who had a militant style, I disappeared. You couldn't get the creativity out of me because I became insecure. And so then they weren't getting the best of me. But when I had a director who was comforting and very supportive and wanted me to be the best, like truly, authentically wanted me to be the best that I could be, then I would shine. And the same comes with a yoga teacher, because if they're spouting off like anatomy stuff and showing just how smart they are in a room, there's one example, then everybody just gets intimidated, right? And then so they can't meet them. They don't ask them questions because they're like, oh, this person's on a whole other level. I'm just embarrassed to be in the room with them. And I know that's how some people think. And so then it feeds the yoga teacher as well. Then the yoga teacher's like, yeah, I'm pretty amazing. So just, I'm kind of untouchable. And then it manifests from there. So everybody manifests this energy that is not conducive to healing. And it's kind of fascinating. But I do, on a more positive note, I do think that it's changing. I think people are taking more initiative and asking more questions and starting to understand their bodies and starting to understand the philosophies behind yoga. I run a teacher training at my studio. We have some pretty frank discussions, very personal discussions about personal things, and it always stays in the room. But we develop a trust for each other and a safe place where they can open up to each other and to me, and they know that it's going to be nurtured and that it's going to help their growth, and it's not there's no condemnation attached to it.
They have that space, that safe space where it can actually the conversation can be tossed back and forth without one person being the higher than the other.
Yes, absolutely. You said it perfectly. And I think that that's the ideal, right? It's not necessarily what's happening across the board, but that would be our modus operandi for sure. I think that when we enter a room, we're leading essentially a lot of people, and not just in the yoga room, outside of it. If you're a yoga teacher or yoga studio owner, you need to foster an energy that is conducive to healing and safety and well-being, all of these things that can help people grow. And if you're not doing that and you're just standing on a platform and showing people how great you are and your other teachers are and that sort of thing, then it's not helpful. And so I think that the more that we create the space for them to ask questions, even difficult questions, and to feel safe, then everybody wins. The teacher wins because you learn too. We forget that, and well, you know this, that we're learning all the time from our students, right? The conversations that we have with them, the things we see in the room. Yeah, the energy of a room is so alive, and how as we know scientifically, we can't change energy, but we can mold it and we can understand it. When we walk into a room, you don't just dictate a class based on every other class you taught. It's different. The energy's live. You feel it. You feel it from the people. You feel where they are, and you go, okay, I guess this is what we're working with today. Let's move forward with this. And that acceptance, and they feel it too, because they don't feel like robots.
Hey, now that I got you here for a little break, On New Year's, Rocky Heron and I, we do Dharma Dudes together. We are hosting a retreat down in Todos Santos, which is the southern tip of Baja, Mexico. So we're going to spend 5 days there hanging out, doing some yoga. We'll do some goal setting. The whole process of the week is going to be, the 5 days anyway, it's going to be releasing some of the past and calling in the things that we want into our future, and really focus on building a sustainable sadhana practice. That's like a home yoga practice. There are still a few spots left. And if you'd like to sign up for our retreat, come hang out with us for 5 days, listen to our banter in real life. Who knows? We might even do a real live podcast while you guys are there. You can sign up in the link below in the show notes. We would love to spend New Year's with you and, celebrate the new year in a fun, awesome, and amazing way. All right, let's get back to the show. Do you feel like, I feel like this could easily turn into, not only with the guru thing, but almost people become addicted to this kind of, this guru thing, but then they get addicted to like this yoga thing and the kind of do I want to say cultish, but this almost, and this deeper, darker sense of community that can always happen in any type of community.
Mm-hmm. I think two things happen when people come into a yoga studio often and they haven't done yoga. And I think one is that they'll either deify it, like glorify it and put it up there and be intimidated by it. And they walk in and they're like, oh my God, all these guys are like eating grass and smoking weed and chanting. And they're also incredibly in touch with themselves, which we know isn't the case. So a lot of us are just a complete mess. And that's the great thing about it, right? We can make space for that. Right. Or on the other hand, it's bastardized, right? It's bastardized because, it's condemned for being something that it's not, and people don't go into a yoga studio because they're intimidated in a different way. They think that maybe it's bastardized too much in Western culture, and so they shun it, and then they can't get benefits from it because they're condemning it before they've even started, based on what they're seeing in things like social media or through religion or all those things that really shouldn't be attached to yoga, but are, and then you don't see people coming out of the gate to even try it. And that's why I know for my studio, the biggest thing that we try to impart to people is that, hey, you know what? Wherever you are, we can meet you here and it's going to be fine. You're going to be safe. And it's only yoga. How many times, I don't know if you say that, I say that in class all the time, guys. Yeah, let's just relax. It's only yoga. Who cares? like it's just, we're not saving the world with it yet. But we're on a path to do so. Hopefully, we'll see. But I think that those are the two dangers.
I like to remind people that, when they're you can just see it in their faces when people are like squishing their muscles in their face. I'm like, why are you working so hard for not saving lives in here? Like, this is not an ER.
Exactly. Right. That's what's funny. And that's why one of my favorite lines is afterwards when people are asking me about certain ailments, and I just say, okay, I'm not a doctor and I don't know what's happening with that, but I know that this stretch might help and this one probably won't. You should stay away from that. But so that kind of seriousness that happens in the class. We teach mostly hot yoga here. It's vinyasa and Bikram and that sort of thing. And so there's an A-type personality, and I'm in downtown Toronto, so there's accountants and lawyers. So I attach that to, they're already A-type personalities. They're intense beings, and they're walking in and they're doing an innately difficult series in a very hot room. That's a lot of seriousness going on, right? So you want to try to dismantle that with whatever levity you can, with whatever lightness and perspective. Like you said, it's only yoga. So adding that perspective is key. Making that a part of the formula for the energy of the room and your teaching style. I think that's really important.
What do you say to the people that are out there that might have a little bit of a jaded experience, or let's say, they're kind of a little bit weary about going into yoga because of the Bikrams, because of, all of that, and because they see these people fall into these patterns? What do you say to those people who are really interested in wanting to go into it, but are kind of like, eh?
Yeah, I'd just say we're not all like that. But you can go to a really bad doctor and he can give you some terrible advice or some bad medication, and go to a bad chiropractor who doesn't know how to adjust you properly. And so by the same nature, you can go to a bad yoga studio. You can have a bad yoga class with a bad teacher. It's just part of this world. There's people who suck at their profession in every single realm, right? And yoga teachers are not immune. So I'd say that they do their research and find out who, and how they feel. I think we need to put more weight on instincts, like when they walk in or when they're taking the class. How do they feel about the other people in the room, the energy of the room, the energy of the teacher, the environment, even? Has a good energy been cultivated in that place, and to trust those instincts and go someplace else if you're not feeling it, but that to disregard the obviously thousands of years of research, and we're catching up scientifically now, but thousands of years of I guess just testimonials, but now science is catching up to the yoga and its benefits, to not dismiss it so quickly, but to just do more research, more exploration, and you're going to hit a pocket.
That's very wise and very smart too. Not to just get tainted because some people messed it up, because there is a lot of really good out there, and there is a lot of, there are really a lot of well-rounded and just down-to-earth teachers. What I like to say, and what I remind people in my teacher training is, like, good leaders create more leaders and not followers.
That's a great expression. I love that one. Yeah, absolutely, Danny. And I think, we've all been a part of a bad relationship, but do we never have another relationship after it? Can we try again, right? We all want that good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those just pick yourself up and dust yourself off kind of principles, where you just, move on, find something that feels right for you. And it can be even a good yoga studio or even a good yoga teacher, but it might not feel right. So go with your instincts, keep trying. But, again, I would say, it's out there. It is. There's some really good yoga teachers, and there's people who are doing a lot of great. I'm sure you're one of them. And it's a beautiful thing to see, because we're here to serve, right? Essentially, like all of us, not just yoga teachers, but we're here to serve, and we're all trying to find our why. And when we find it, happiness ensues. So if we can help people, then we're doing our jobs.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it's important to be said, and to say this out loud, to always keep ourselves as teachers in check, to keep our egos in check, make sure that we're checking in with people that are going to call us on our bullshit, make sure that we have those people that are going to, make sure that our feet are connected to the ground.
Yeah. And you know what? You can tell by, we don't know each other. We've just met, you and I, but I can tell by listening to your voice that you already have humility and compassion instilled within your personality. So the thing is, if I came to you and I wanted to meet, I want to meet the yoga teacher. Who's the yoga teacher? And I would know from 30 seconds in that I'm like, I'm in good hands with this guy. I would know that, right? So I think people can do that. Talk. You'll know right away. You really will. Our instincts are good. So and then obviously exploring with other people too. Not just people get stuck with one yoga teacher, and I think that's a little dangerous as well. That you need to feel all the different facets of what people have to offer.
And shop for yoga teachers, because there's so many out there.
Exactly. And because again, it's no different than any other profession. You shop online and you have a certain amount of discernment, and so you do the same.
That's awesome. And Paul, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom, and again, talking about some of the things that people really don't want to talk about.
Oh, well, it's a true pleasure, Danny. And then keep doing all the good things you're doing. It's been a joy.
I will continue to spread this message and this voice to as many people as possible.
Amazing. I love it. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Until the next Yogi Misfit sessions, this is Danny and Paul saying peace out.
Peace out.
So that's it for this week's summer series session. It was such an honor and a pleasure to talk to Paul. Super smart guy. His writing is absolutely amazing. And yeah, thanks for coming on the show, Paul. If you guys love the show, please remember to leave a review on iTunes. It'll help the show grow, not only in iTunes, but in other places as well. It'll tell your friends about the show, and it really does everyone a service so that I can continue to supply the podcast out there to you guys. So without your guys' love and support, I can't make this happen. And some of the biggest love and support that I can get from you is leaving a review on iTunes. It takes about 2 minutes, and there's also a link down below that tells you how to do it. Until the next Yogi Misfit sessions, peace out.